In Cane Garden Bay, it is obvious that there has been some erosion of the coast in order to save the beach from further erosions and hence ultimately the destruction of Cane Garden Bay with respect to the businesses that operate on the beach. Then the revetment has become necessary. Climate change is an existential threat and more than real for islands in general, and the BVI is no exception. Islands and coastal communities are the ones that are likely to be most affected by climate change.
Welcome to BVI iLand Resilience, a special GIS series on the sub-projects taking place under the regional EU OECS Sustainable Land Management and Climate Change projects. Today's topic is the Cane Garden Bay Revetment Project.
Well, let me first start by saying that I'm very excited to be here discussing this very important project. And essentially what we're trying to do is construct a properly engineered coastal defense system in the Cane Garden Bay area, which will replace the failed seawall that has been there for many years now, but is no longer able to defend the coastal area. So we'll be putting in a rock revetment, which is essentially a system of boulders that are specifically placed and stacked to defend the coast, right in the footprint of the existing seawall, which is as you come down to Cane Garden Bay from the Soldier Hill area, between the bus stop, the public bus stop, and the beach, right? So the system is going to be a total of 129 meters when it's completed, but it is being constructed in 2 phases under different contracts. So the first phase, which I guess we'll focus on today, which is actually happening now as of the 29th of March, is for a 68-meter length, which will essentially replace the existing footprint of the seawall plus a bit more. And I just want to highlight that the rock revetment system that we're putting in, that type of coastal defense, is quite superior to a seawall because as opposed to a seawall, which is just a vertical, straight, really hard structure, a rock revetment is a sloping structure and it is also porous. So what that means is that it's much more effective at actually absorbing wave energy, which makes it better at protecting the assets behind it. And it also reduces the erosion potential of the sand or just seabed in general in front of it. So we're very happy that we have the opportunity to replace the seawall with a very well-engineered structure that will not only defend the coast but also protect the surrounding beach area as well. Well, it's really coming out of a short-term as well as long-term need. So in the short term, as I mentioned before, the seawall that has been there for many years has now failed. So for anybody who has passed through the Cane Garden Bay community in the last few months, you would have noticed there's been significant undermining of the road. In some instances, you actually see gaping holes in the pavement, and the road is at a point now where it's basically being undermined very rapidly. So we had to do something urgently to shore up and protect that very important roadway, as well as the land further inland. So in the immediate short term, it's protecting that system from the annual ground swells, as we call them locally, or winter swells that we get very strongly in that bay, as well as the hurricanes that pass through. We're coming into hurricane season in a few months. On a longer term basis though, we recognize that climate change is a real threat for small islands like us here in the Virgin Islands. And we know that we anticipate to have stronger hurricanes and stronger storm surges as a result of that threat, as well as we're going to experience sea level rise, which could be as much as 1 meter by the end of the century. So we were also taking the long-term view of looking at this area, recognizing it as a very vulnerable but critical area, and trying to protect it against short-term as well as long-term threats. It's being funded by the European Union through their Climate Change Alliance program. I talked about there being 2 contracts. So the first contract is being done through this iLand Resilience project. The second contract will be done locally by government. And that is being funded by the European Union through the GCCA, like I said earlier. And the contracting authority is actually the OECS. So that means that the contract that is in place with the contractor is signed with the OECS as opposed to local government. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Labour has an important role to play as the coordinator for the Island Resilience project in the Virgin Islands. So that means that we take a high-level sort of managerial role in regards to all of the projects that are being implemented. There's a design engineer that is also supervising the implementation of the works, and that is a company based in Jamaica known as Smith Warner International. But they're working in partnership with the Public Works Department in terms of the supervision of the implementation of the project. And then we have, of course, the contractor. So the contractor in this case is Ports and Marina Limited. And I think it's very important for people to understand that the contracting process, as this was an EU-funded project, was a very rigorous and competitive process that conformed with EU requirements.
This project is scheduled for a 5-month duration. The start date was the 29th of March 2017. The contractor, right now with his program, it's scheduled to finish early August. So it would be a bit early if it follows the trend that he's projecting. The project cost, it's a bit under 300,000 euros. The exact figure, it's 299,265 and 63 euros. That works back to be roughly 336,000 US dollars. Putting core material, filter fabric, and the armor stones on top. Now, being that it's the coastline and the involvement of marine works, also the sourcing of the materials, the core material, as well as the armor stones, they're quite large stones. So the risk of transporting them from the source where the stones are coming from to Cane Garden Bay, traveling over the hills and what's not, those were factors that the contractor had to consider when he put his bid in.
Well, hurricanes are going to continue to come, and they're going to continue to bring significant storm surge. And if we put climate change in the mix, then it creates a very complicated situation for coastal communities. So this is a very important mitigation project that is supposed to give a number of results. And one is looking at more protection of the coastline, protection of property, protection of individuals who are living in the area, and also to protect the economy, because we are very heavily dependent on tourism, and this area is really considered one of the prime tourism areas throughout Tortola. So it's all about protection for our people and protection for our government and for ourselves.
The first phase of the Cane Garden Bay rock revetment was completed in July 2017. The revetment was designed to withstand up to a Category 4 hurricane and associated storm surge. On 6th September 2017, the territory experienced a direct hit by Hurricane Irma, a strong Category 5 hurricane. In fact, the strongest hurricane ever at landfall in Atlantic history. The Cane Garden Bay revetment withstood Hurricane Irma with no major impact and served its purpose by protecting the critical coastal road and lands behind it. The Cane Garden Bay revetment is a good example of a well-engineered project that can help the territory be more resilient to the impacts of climate change, including stronger hurricanes.
Thank you for watching BVI Island Resilience. The Cane Garden Bay Revetment is just another sign that climate change matters are important in the BVI, the Caribbean, and the entire world. The Island Resilience projects are funded by the European Union through the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. For more news on these and other projects, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at BVI Government. Let's continue to protect the integrity of our land and build Island Resilience.